Welcome, students. Congratulations on reaching your fifth and final speech in the class, the persuasive speech using Monroe's Motivate sequence. This is a short video just going over briefly how to fill out the persuasive outline template for your speech. Please note that this is not a substitute for reading the instructions for the speech. Please carefully read the instructions so that you understand the requirements for the speech. For this template, as I said, we're using Monroe's Motivate sequence for the persuasive speech. It has a very specific format. So please answer the questions and fill out the outline thoroughly for this speech. The speech is 6 to 8 minutes, so you will have enough time to thoroughly explore the problem, solution, counter-argument, the benefits to the solution, and then 2 actions you would like your audience to take to help fix this problem that you've identified. It is important to integrate your 13 to 15 slides so that you really make sure the content in the slides really matches the parts of the speech. So when you're talking about the problem, for example, make sure that the images on the slides show the problem. When you're talking about the solution, make sure your images show something about the solution to the problem. Okay, to start off with, you're going to start with an attention-getting device. I suggest showing that you have ethos. You're going to have ethos, meaning you have personal experience with this problem, that you've experienced it, and it is preferable, although not required, that you have also taken some actions to fix the problem. It is really important, if you're going to ask people to take actions to fix a problem that you have experienced yourself, that you have actually taken some actions. You don't have to have taken all the actions that you're asking your audience members to take, but you should at least have taken one of them. So you can basically talk about that in the attention-getting device, and a brief story about your experience with the problem is fine. That combines ethos and pathos. However, if you just want to start with a story about someone else to demonstrate pathos, that's fine. Again, remember, pathos is emotional appeal, so you really want to make the story emotionally gripping for your audience. You can also start with a quotation, or you can start with a startling statistic about the problem. Then next, if you haven't started with a story about yourself, you want to talk about what is your experience with this problem? Why is this problem important to you? And you want to then follow that with a thesis statement, which is a one sentence talking about the purpose of the speech. Now, you don't have to tell your audience the purpose is to persuade them to do something, because that's leading them, and they may not agree with what you want them to do yet. But just talk about the purpose of the speech, meaning you're going to clearly state what the problem is that you're addressing in your speech for the thesis. Then you want to then transition into why this problem or need is relevant to your audience members. Please choose a topic that you believe is relevant to your audience members and that they can take actions to fix this problem within, let's say, a day or a week after hearing your speech. It's very important that your audience cares about the problem. Don't try to convince your audience members why they should care. It's really important that you know that this is a problem that not only affects you or has affected you, but that also impacts your audience members. And then you can preview the proposed solution to the problem, but I would caution you, if it's a controversial topic that you feel that your audience might not agree with you initially, then you might want to hold off telling them what the solution is that you believe would be a good solution based on research, and you might not want to preview the solution yet. So again, if it's a benign topic like volunteering, then you can certainly probably tell your audience that volunteering is important as a solution to the problem. But if it's a controversial topic, then I would, and again, a controversial topic is probably anything that has to do with one's health, mental or physical, or the environment, or really any controversial topic that's kind of in the headlines in terms of political topics. So again, anything that is controversial, I would not preview the solution yet. I would wait until you really convince your audience of how serious a problem this is. Okay, then next comes the problem, where you're addressing the problem using credible sources. And these can be credible academic or professional sources. Do not put your personal opinions or personal experiences in the body of the speech. That does not give you a lot of logos. Logos is logic, and logos is also facts and statistics, where you're going to back up that this is really a problem or need with research and opinion and research from credible sources and experts on the topic. Again, not your opinions. So you're going to clearly outline what is this problem. You're going to explain the problem and define it using, again, definitions, credible sources, and examples. This needs to be a problem that you find in opposing viewpoints database. That way, you know it really is a problem. It's not just a personal pet peeve or something that you've had issues with, but this is a real societal problem. Next, you're going to explain to your audience, why is this a need or a problem? So you're going to explain, this is where you can include some pathos, where you can include some examples of really emotionally, how can you connect this problem to your audience? How can you convince them this really is a problem that they should care about, that you want them to care about? This is the why part. Provide some really vivid examples as to why this is a problem for them. Then next, you're going to transition from the problem to your proposed solution. And when I say your proposed solution, it's going to be the solution, one solution, not multiple solutions, but one solution that you choose based on the research you have done using the opposing viewpoints database, or information from the nonprofit website if you choose to advocate for a non-for-profit. So again, in Monroe's Motivate sequence, this is also known as the satisfaction or the solution stage. You're going to outline one solution to the problem using a credible source for support. So again, this is a solution that the experts say is a solution. It's not your personal opinion of what a solution should be, or what you used as a solution. However, if your solution aligns with the expert's solution, then even better, you can put it down here. You're going to explain again, why is this a good solution? This is using credible sources. Why do the experts say that this solution helps to solve the problem that has been addressed above? Again, not your personal opinions or personal experiences. It is, what do the experts say that this is a good solution? Why do they say it's a good solution? And then finally, you're going to address a counter argument, which might be what your audience is thinking, because maybe they don't agree that this is the best solution. Maybe they have thought about other solutions that they prefer. So you're going to offer a counter solution, and you can do this in one of two ways. You can simply take a different solution that you don't think is as good as the one that you selected, or you can simply list a solution that maybe is different from yours, and that might be just as good as yours, but is not the one that you're advocating for in the speech. And you simply talk about that, and then you politely and respectfully kind of disagree with that solution and reinforce why the solution that you're advocating for is the best one, or again, is the one that you think is most relevant to your audience members as a viable solution. Then again, you're going to transition from the solution and the counter argument to the benefits of the solution. This really needs to nail for your audience members how, once the solution is implemented, what's going to happen that's really going to be beneficial or already is happening that's beneficial. I will caution students, when you're using a story or you're using a source, make sure it's relevant, meaning it needs to address how it's affecting people in Colorado, if that's the focus of the problem, the solution as to the benefits to the non-for-profit, if you're choosing a non-for-profit. But again, this needs to be a happy story. If you have successfully solved the problem and you didn't use your personal story in the attention-getting device, then you can put your own personal story here if it has a happy ending. The point here is to really reinforce for your audience that the solution that you have chosen and proposed by the experts is really beneficial and it has good outcomes. So you can do that using positive examples. You can do that choosing a story with a happy ending, whatever you think will really help. This is another place to put pathos or an appeal to emotion in your speech. And then you bring it home. And what I mean by that is, once you have told your audience what the problem is, what one solution is that you feel is probably the best solution to this problem based on credible sources, then you are going to, and you have explained the benefits to this proposed solution. Now you're going to do the critical step in Monroe's Motivate sequence, and that is you're going to provide very clear, actionable steps, 2 of them, that your audience can take immediately, like right after hearing your speech. Perhaps it's going to a website and donating if it's a non-for-profit. Perhaps it's a little longer term. It could be a week away from your speech, but it really shouldn't be any longer than that, because if it's not an urgent problem or need that doesn't have really clear actionable steps that they need to take immediately, your speech probably will not be very convincing to your audience. So make these very easy to take steps. At least one of them should be something they can do right away. Then the other one could be one that might take a little longer, like maybe they're going to sign up to volunteer, or they're going to advocate, they're going to contact one of their congressmen. The action that they should not have to take at this point in the speech is getting more information, because that is the point of your speech, is to give your audience all the information they need to then take some actions. And again, make these very easy. If you want your audience to donate to a website, to a non-for-profit, show them on your screen with a screenshot the place where they can click the donate button to actually donate to the organization. This needs to be very clear for your audience. Don't make them guess. Don't make it vague like donate. Show them how to donate using a screenshot. So again, very specific, just 2 very easy to take specific actions that they can take pretty immediately to help solve this problem, okay? And then finally, after you've done that, which is one of the most important parts, which are the action steps, then you're going to summarize and conclude your speech in an eloquent way and a creative way. First of all, you're just going to summarize and review the main points. And again, that can just be a quick review of the problem and solution that you've addressed in your speech. Then you're going to tie back the conclusion to the introduction. So if you started with a quote, you may just, again, want to explain to your audience why you chose that quote and why it's meaningful in the context of this speech. If you talked about your ethos on the problem, you might want to again talk about why this problem is important to you. However you started the speech, the conclusion is kind of a mirror image of the introduction. And then finally, you're going to end with a creative concluding thought, which could be a quotation again, or a new quotation, or as the speaker does in the Special Olympics speech, she ends with the mission and reminds the audience of the impact that they could make if they volunteer. That's my oh, and don't forget, you will need to cite at least 3 credible academic or professional sources in your speech. You could do more than that. Please make sure to verbally cite them properly while you're speaking, after you have given the information in your speech, and cite the images you use if they're not your personal images or from one of the public domain sites I listed in the work cited in proper MLA format. I look forward to reading your outlines and hearing your persuasive speeches. Thank you very much.